tore it down, I rebuilt it. I give myself a task, you can bet your ass I fulfill it. Yeah, man, I'm talking about realest, one of the realest to try.
The second button on the left. That one, the other one. What are you doing, Sebastian? Fucking babyhead Brandel. Pulling the Thread podcast, episode 70 with John and Scully.
Is it episode 70 already? Are you sure it's not 71?
It's 70.
No, I don't think we're. What happened to 69? That was my my rack number in
That's what you said last week.
And
Charlie Company. Charlie Company 19.
I asked you so many times. I was like, "What the hell's a rack number?" But nobody ever answered me.
It's basically how they identify you.
It's a sleeping space in the submarine.
So all your gear gets on all your gear. You put Charlie. You put a C69 on it. People were trying to buy that number from me.
Did you see the Air Force chick?
No, I didn't see Air Force
saying that they do breast enhancements and boob jobs because they want all their soldiers to be happy.
I don't know if that's. I mean, yeah, I know they do that.
I thought those were called airmen.
We had a female.
I didn't know the Air Force had soldiers.
The Air Force doesn't have soldiers.
Makes you think maybe she's not in the Air Force.
No, but they do breast augmentation.
Yeah,
they've been doing it for a long time. The
Marine Corps was doing it fucking 25 years ago.
Yeah,
a friend of ours' wife's had a tit job done at Balboa.
Yeah, when I was at sniper school, we had a truck driver, a female truck driver that would take the students to the range, and she got a breast enhancement.
I'm glad you said female.
Yeah, well, I mean, back then it would have had to been a female because the Marine Corps wouldn't have put up with anything else.
So are you
it's
aware?
A new modern world.
What's happened in the world this week? Anything stick out?
Well, the fact that everybody's saying that that World War III starting,
but who's saying that other than your politicians?
I mean, I don't know.
Remember when I always said, "Hey,
attacking Iran is not World War III, guys.
Look at this. Don't pay attention to this." Do you know what they did over here?
What'd they do?
You don't know?
I don't know. They do all kinds of shit. I'm not paying attention.
The FOIA stuff.
What about the FOIA stuff?
So they basically can tap any U.S. citizen, social media across the board, just anything, right? And they put it up to a vote, and it fucking was unanimously not passed.
Oh, wonderful.
They changed one line of text, and then it passed 258 to like 127 or something.
Yeah, wow.
Do you know what they added?
I don't know.
Said no politician can be tapped without a warrant. They added that line of text, and they fucking passed that thing completely through.
100%, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you should operate. The reality is, you should operate under the assumption that
everything you say,
the government can take whatever they want anyway. So,
because they already were.
Yeah, they
now
already
they're just
were
admitting it.
So, yeah. I mean,
now once you've been in prison for 5 years, and
but again,
when you try to have it overturned, they can't overturn it.
That's illegal. The mere point of the law is illegal. By them putting a statement in there that says no politician can be, they can have a warrantless search, right? That's illegal. Congress and the Senate cannot create any laws that do not apply to them. While they do it all the time, what they're actually doing is 100% illegal. And because we are not holding their feet to the fire, because we are not holding these politicians to task on what they're doing, that's why they keep doing this. It's why they keep, it's why Nancy Pelosi and Dan Crenshaw can do insider trading. It's why, they have a health care plan that no American has. All that's illegal. I mean, it's all of it is 100% illegal. And because we don't hold politicians to task on it, because we are not up there with pitchforks and fucking torches, they're going to continue to do illegal shit. They're going to continue to do illegal shit until the people decide that they can't do that shit anymore.
So what would it look like holding them to task?
Well, I mean, the reality is, if fucking even Dan Crenshaw, or I'll use Dan Crenshaw because he thinks he's doing God's work. If his constituents, if the people of Texas were to fucking hold him to task, meaning it doesn't even have to be anything that spectacular, but if all his constituents said, hey, motherfucker, If you don't start holding the fucking line for America, we are going to recall your ass and you are out of fucking office. He's going to do it because he wants to keep making the money that he's making. And so that's across the board. The only reason why they get away with all the shit that they get away with is because very few Americans concern themselves with the politics of what is going on. So, like, you know, when you think of, like, fucking Nancy Pelosi been reelected for 100 years, really only about fucking 5% of her constituents are even fucking voting, right? People aren't voting. Mm-hmm. That's why those people can stay in office for so long. And because the government does a great job of keeping circus and bread going, people are not concerned with what happens in Washington. And because they're not concerned with what's happening in Washington, those motherfuckers can do all this fucking shit.
Well, isn't Iran circus and breads?
Well, Iran is specific, right? Iran is specific. The reason why we have to conjure up and create a war with Iran is because, again, that one world idea that the elites have does not work if Russia, China, and Iran are still independent of that one world government. When we talk about, like, BRICS, right? People keep mentioning the BRICS nations. Iran, Russia, and China. If those countries fall for whatever reason, none of the other countries matter, right? Brazil, none of those countries matter. They will fall in line to whoever is fucking running the world because they don't have the capability to matter. There's very few countries in the world that have the capability to actually matter. And so the thing with Russia the thing with Iran is it has to happen. The fucking world, the Bill Gateses and the fucking, I don't want to say Elon because he's too busy trying to fucking go to a planet that is dead. But the world elites, they know that those places have to fall. And that is the plan.
So what did Iran launch at Israel?
Oh, it doesn't fucking matter.
Do you know?
I don't know. I mean, but it doesn't matter. It could have been fucking sticks. We still would be rattling the fucking sword. Like,
so apparently the United States shot all that shit down. Iron Dome caught some of it. There was 500 like kamikaze drones. Mm-hmm. And they said ballistic missiles and all kinds of shit. But the United States had 2 ships out there that shot almost all of that ordnance out of the sky. That's what they're saying. I mean, it's a good thing though that Iran didn't use paragliders against them because that would have changed the game.
It might have. But it is all bread and circus. Every bit of it. It's all bread and circus. The first off, Israel. This is like the Tonkin Gulf in Vietnam. What we're doing is we're putting these ships in an area that is in harm's way, that they don't need to be in. 100%. Fucking Israelis don't need us. They don't need us. They don't fucking need our support. They don't need the ships in the Gulf. They don't need any of that shit. Our point of being over there is to agitate Iran and get them to fucking blow up one of our goddamn ships so we can go to war with Iran. That's what they're fucking doing. That's all they're doing. This is fucking bread and circus 100%.
Do you not think this was pre-staged?
No. I mean,
you don't think there was a meeting and they're like, okay, you shoot this stuff, we're going to shoot this down?
No.
You don't think that Biden met with Putin and said, okay, you roll in here and we're going to say this and you say that? You don't think it's choreographed?
No. You can't give them that much credit. Ideally, this is how this actually works. They're like, hey, you know what we need to do? We need to start a war with Iran. All the permanent government are like, yeah, that would be great because it would feed the economy if we started a war with Iran. How do we start a war with Iran? Well, they need to blow up something strategic, something big. I know what we could do. Let's send Navy ships off the coast of Iran, and maybe they will attack. What they do is they just throw a bunch of shit at the wall, and they're just waiting for something to stick. They don't have the capability. They don't have the capability to get Iran to do something, or, I mean, we could blow up our own ship. It's possible. But it's better if we get them to do it, right? So they're just going to keep poking the beehive and wait for something to happen. Now, the problem that the elites in Washington have is the fucking Navy's got good crews, right? The Navy's got good crews. Those guys that are out there on those ships, they're not part of it. they're doing their job. And so they're going to shoot down everything that comes in. And every time, I am sure that there is a group of fucking assholes in Washington, D.C. right now that every time they shoot down one of the missiles, excuse me, that is coming towards the ship, every time they're like, oh, shit, fuck. I hope Iran fires another missile. I guarantee you they're doing that. They're fucking waiting for one of those ships to get sunk so they can be like, oh my God, look at Iran. They're the fucking evil empire. Let's attack Iran. But again, it's no different than, it's like this, John. If I own the property next door to you, or I don't even own imagine I don't own the property next door to you. I live somewhere else, but I'm like, you know what? John's a fucking evil empire. And I park my RV over here in that fucking yard, and I say, you can't do anything about it. Fuck you. And I start throwing rocks at you. What the fuck are you going to do? Of course you're going to be like, fuck that guy in the RV. I'm going to try and blow up. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what these assholes in Washington, D.C. are trying to make happen. They're trying to make happen a war so they can fix the economy that Joe Biden completely fucking ruined through war profiteering, and they can take out another domino that's in the way of world domination by a bunch of fucking rich elitists. That's all this is.
So what do you think the outcome is?
Iran is 100%, no hesitation. Iran is no threat to the United States.
So what do you think the outcome is?
I don't know. I hope that the fucking mullahs in Iran are smart enough to go, this is just fucking, all this is bait. Fuck the bait and don't do shit. I mean, again, the problem that Iran has, the problem that Iran has is they have the same problem that everybody else in the world has. They have a bunch of elitist assholes that are running the military, and then you have these elitist mullahs that are running the country. And so there's a point where your rhetoric your fucking mouth has to match your ass, right? And so, again, what are they doing? They're firing drones at Israel because Israel is the fucking, for the Muslim world, Israel's the devil in that part of the world. So they have to back up what they say, right? And so I'm sure that even in Iran, there's a bunch of military elitists are like, fuck them, let's shoot rockets at the goddamn U.S. Navy. And it's like, dude, this is just a fucking trap. That's all it is. It's just a fucking trap. I don't know how you can't see it. I don't know how anybody in the geopolitical world is not going, Jesus Christ, the fucking American government is out of goddamn control. Because we're fucking out of control. We're trying to start World War III. We've done everything we can in Ukraine to start World War III. We're doing everything we can in the Middle East to start World War III. Fucking UN, you know what? The goddamn UN should send blue helmets in and surround fucking Washington, D.C. and shut us down. We're fucking out of control. I mean, I know that that's not the right answer, but apparently fucking most of America has just got their heads up their ass and they're just sleeping while all this is going on. Again, it's comfortable. We're too goddamn comfortable. We don't care what happens in the rest of the world because we're so fucking comfortable and so, internet, social media that we're willing to allow the entire world to get turned into a fucking, a fucking meat factory. Because if World War III does break out, that's what it's going to be. Excuse me. Anyways,
Did you see Trump's back in court?
Of course he's back in court. But who cares? It's all bullshit.
See, they're not going to let him go to his son's graduation.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah, they're going to try and do something. They're
And
always
then he's supposed to go before some other court, and they're not letting him go to that.
Because the Democratic Party is the fucking Communist Party, and the Democratic Party is using political power in order to stop their opponents.
So this judge has brought charges against him, or some DA there or something's brought charges against him for a crime that doesn't exist. All the other courts said that this was not a crime, and they've brought charges against him in New York. Why doesn't he just not go to fucking court? Like, as soon as he doesn't go to court, it's going to show that they have no enforcement. Why doesn't he just go do the shit he needs to do?
Because the fucking Democratic Party, that's right. Sorry. All you people in the Democratic Party are fucking morons. He wants to go to court. Every time the Democrats are like, we're going to charge you with some shit, his power only gets stronger. All they're doing is they're like, it's like it's like if a fireman showed up. This is really the thing with Donald Trump. When your house is on fire and the Democratic Party, the fire department, shows up and they're like, oh my God, that is a fucking house fire. That is out of control. What are we going to do? I don't know. You know what we should do? We should probably throw some wood on it. That's all they're doing. They're just throwing wood on the fire going, I hope it goes out soon. And every time it's about to go out, they're like, let's throw another log on it. Sorry, damn it. You got me too riled up on the World War III.
So what do you think the outcome of that will be?
Donald Trump will get elected president. They'll assassinate him, and then we'll go into civil war.
You think so?
I mean, I don't see the DNC. I don't see the DNC giving up power. They already rigged the election in Chicago against another Democrat. Like they did it again, where everybody went to bed, and then miraculously the next morning, 10,000 votes were not counted. That all went to the opponent that the Democratic Party. That all went to the candidate that the Democratic Party wanted to win, not the actual person who was winning. They did it again. Like,
so, what's their explanation?
Well, they got a patsy, like they always do. A fucking DNC, a DNC representative was like, "Oh, I didn't see all those mail-in ballots that were sitting over here in this mysterious bin." Here's the thing. I don't care what it is. The likelihood of you misplacing 10,000 ballots, the likelihood of then you finding them in the wee hours of the morning, and the likelihood that all those ballots mysteriously go to the candidate that was losing, fucking impossible. Impossible. It doesn't happen. But because people don't pay attention, and because the people of Chicago don't give a shit, like they really should have went down there and burned that fucking place to the ground. Because they don't give a shit, the wrong person is getting elected. That's just the way it works. Because we just, here's the dollar, I don't care what happens to it.
And you don't think that's going to happen during the real election?
Yeah, it's going to happen. The question is, does it make people uncomfortable enough? The question is, does it make people uncomfortable enough to do something about it?
Well, I think that's why they're passing all these new amendments and these bills and shit to where they can just go after you. They can just do whatever they want. I think that's part of the whole thing with the January 6th stuff, right?
Yeah, but
to set an example for people who are thinking before they do that again.
It's easy to go after, when you think of like January 6th, it's easy for the federal government to round up 300 people. Right? It's even if you think January 6th, it wasn't even easy for the government to round up the amount of people that they rounded up.
They're still rounding them up.
Kind of.
They're using the air marshals.
They're using air marshals to follow them around. But it wasn't easy for them to really round up those people. And it also was very expensive.
Yeah, but they don't care. It's not like it comes out of their
Also
money.
very expensive. Now times that by 1 million. They can't do it. They can't do it. They can't. The fucking federal government, the long arm of the law, only exists because of cooperation with other agencies. So if they said tomorrow that they were going to round up 1 million U.S. citizens that are, I don't know, subversives or agents against the state, here's the law that says we can round these millions. That is the thing I'm talking about. That's the uncomfortable thing that will happen, and people will not stand for that. They won't stand for it. I don't think so. I don't think if the federal government said that we're going to round up 1 million people, because they can't. Again, it's not going to be FBI agents that show up at your door. It's going to be local sheriff that's going to have to do that. When we're talking about 1 million people, it's going to have to be local agencies. The federal government doesn't have the troops to do that, unless they mobilize the National Guard or mobilize the federal forces against U.S. citizens, which is fucking illegal. So I think that's at the point where we start becoming uncomfortable, right?
Hasn't almost everything in the last 3, 4, 5 years been 100% illegal though? I don't think
Yeah, but
I don't think it matters anymore.
But it doesn't. Again,
It's going to destroy their lives.
It hasn't risen.
They're going to take them into custody.
It hasn't risen to the occasion. It hasn't risen to the level of uncomfortable for a majority of Americans. The numbers have been small enough. The numbers are small enough to where it's really brushed under the rug. Like, it's really brushed under the rug. But when we start talking about millions of people, now you're talking about visibility. You're talking about people being taken away from their families and their homes. If you take, for example, we'll just use 1 million as the number, right? The chances are it's not the 1 million people that go into custody. It's the 6 million people that are associated with this. It's the 6 million people that are associated with that 1 million people that are going to turn into the problem. And if you have associations, so if I say the 6 million associations that are with that first 1 million people, and then the government's like, holy shit, we got to go after more people. That the number of people who become problems exponentially gets bigger and bigger every time the government acts illegally. So it's that comfortability level. Again, everybody's super comfortable. Like, everybody's super comfortable. That has to get ratcheted up where people start looking and going, holy shit, maybe all these things that the government is doing is really against our benefit. The issue is people don't see that right now, John.
It's absolutely insane that they can't see that.
Because it doesn't affect them. I mean, the reality is, think about this. And we talk about this shit all the time. Name one law that has been passed in the last 15 years that has affected me or you.
In a positive manner?
No. Even in a negative manner. Like, name one law that they have passed that has really affected us in a negative manner. It doesn't matter. They literally could pass a law tomorrow that says everybody with brown eyes has to be arrested. Until they start arresting people with brown eyes, the fucking law doesn't mean anything. Like, it doesn't. It's like when people bring up laws on the books, old laws that are on the books. You can only have 2 buggy whips. If you have 3 buggy whips, you'll be arrested. Has anybody been arrested for having 3 buggy whips? Nobody has. Because just because they pass a law doesn't mean it's enforceable. It doesn't mean that at a level that is necessary to be, at a level for it to be reality, it's enforceable. They pass those laws so that when they do arrest singular John Willis, they can have all these charges they throw on top of it, but not the entire country. I mean, when we're talking about, brown eyes, let's say that's, 25 million people in the United States. They're not arresting them. It's not happening. As a show of solidarity, Congress might have the FBI arrest 50 people like that. But it's going to get uncomfortable for them real fucking quick. It'll get uncomfortable real quick because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, I'm not fucking going to jail because I have brown eyes. Fuck you. So we're comfortable, and we're comfortable because the laws that they keep passing that are against the best interests of Americans, they haven't enforced yet. Now, they're putting it all in place.
They eventually will enforce it. They don't even have the capacity to enforce, but they put them in place now because the people it will affect aren't currently even alive. They're not even cognizant that this has happened.
In theory, but I do believe that they do a lot of things.
It's your grandchildren that will be affected.
I do believe that they do a lot of things on the assumption, but I don't believe that, for example, the laws that they just passed, I don't believe that they will affect our grandchildren. I don't think they will, because they don't have the capability. They really don't have the capability. Again, it goes back to when we talk about civil war in this country. They could fucking mobilize every, just pretend for a minute that the U.S. government could mobilize every reserve, National Guard, federal troop that we have in uniform. They still wouldn't be able to control, half the cities within the United States. They still wouldn't, people just don't understand. If you have 7 million dudes in uniform, can't control 335 million people. Impossibility. Not armed people, not U.S. rebellious people. I mean, the greatest military that the world has ever seen, couldn't fucking manage Afghanistan. Not because the military couldn't do it. Like, the military could have done it. We could have managed Iraq and Afghanistan hands down. But we have a political system that is unwilling to fucking manage those things. And because they are unwilling or inept, they don't have the capability to, the greatest military in the world had to fucking walk away from Afghanistan.
So what would have been needed to control Afghanistan?
A will to win. No different than we did in World War II. You know how World War II ended? Germany and Japan both bent a knee. They bent a knee because they knew that we would destroy every fucking person there until it was over. That was a political will, not a military will. We had the capability militarily to do that. We had the capability militarily to do all those things. But you always have to have the political will to force that country to bend a fucking knee. We don't do that anymore. The reason why we don't do that anymore is because politicians get rich off war. They don't want wars to end.
Correct. They want.
That's why
they want a
that
forever
is why we're attempting to fucking that's why we're over there poking Iran right now.
That's what's throwing me off, is you pushing that button.
Oh, you pushing that button? Hey, by the way, I'm not suicidal. I'm just telling you that.
You should probably get it tattooed on your forearm.
I'm just telling you that. So if the government comes after me because I'm mad at their World War III rhetoric. I mean, again, they do everything for a reason. It's no different than, you think about George Bush. And when what were we doing? We were
1,000 points of light.
We were secretly going around the world and snatching up terrorists and putting them in black sites and holding them for an ungodly amount of time. Okay? And we were doing it in the spirit of, protecting America. What we were doing is setting precedents.
That's what they're doing right now. Is setting precedents.
Well, what they did is they were setting precedents. And so they were setting precedents by saying this person is a terrorist.
What they do today makes it completely okay 20 years from now.
20 years from now. And so it's no different than when Obama killed an American citizen with a drone strike in a foreign country. What he was doing was setting precedents. Now, that can go either way. Like, when Obama did that, if the American people would have been like, hey, motherfucker, that's not within your purview as president of the United States to be warrantlessly killing American citizens in foreign countries. If the American people would have stood up and said, fucking knock it off, that would have been the precedents. The precedents would have been, you don't have the authority to do that. And then what the powers that be would have done is a couple years later, they would have tried some other way to do it. But it's up to us to stop these fucking.
But they're not going to stop them.
Well, no, because we're comfortable.
Nobody's going to stop them.
Because we're comfortable.
It was Ben Locke or whatever his name was, and it wasn't just the dude that he drone struck. He drone struck his 16-year-old son also. Killed him sitting in a cafe.
It was specifically his son that was killed in that cafe, and that was
a mercy killing or something. What do they call it?
An honor killing.
Honor killing.
Yeah, and they knew. Obama knew what he was doing when he did that.
Yeah, he was briefed on it.
So again, it's just setting precedents, right? So they can keep going around until we are uncomfortable. The problem is the transition, right? And the problem is always going to be the transition. The federal government is going to, the permanent government is going to keep pushing the lines of how much power they have. They're going to keep pushing the lines. Now, they're not.
Think about the
They're not at the
calibration.
point.
Think about the calibration of comfort also, right? You and I grew up waking up at a certain time and going and working. And we
Right.
didn't typically work 8 hours. We worked 12, 16 hours, right? Or even multiple jobs. My mother held 3 jobs always. As
Yeah.
far as I can remember, she had 2, if not 3 jobs. That's what we did. And then we would spend the weekends doing whatever it was that we did, right? But they have lowered the bar on what people think comfort is now. All they have to do was give them a phone and give them some video games or Netflix and a video
True.
series. And now you have access to all of that stuff in this make-believe world, and they are completely fine eating fucking cricket loaf and fucking Oreos, and that's literally what they eat. Like, they don't even have to go and get food any longer. It just comes to them.
The problem is,
And that is all. I'll bet you that's fucking 80% of all these up-and-comer kids, right? I would say 25 and under. I'll bet 80% of them.
yeah, but all of that.
I'll bet you have people right now who have eaten all their lives and never been to a fucking grocery store.
Maybe. But all of that design is very fragile. It's very fragile. The elites that think that they are controlling all these people with these things, they are, but all of those things are very fragile. It's very fragile to get that stuff out to the people, okay? It's doable, but it's fragile.
But do you not think they'd be willing to just kill all of them with the push of a button?
But they can't.
Ooh, I'll bet they can.
No, they can't.
I'll bet they fucking can.
They can't. Again, because the issue is you're talking about numbers. This is very French Revolution, okay? This is very French Revolution. You're talking about numbers. They can't.
I see this more as
When
Wuhan, where
No.
they push a button and lock them in their fucking apartments and stop feeding them.
They can't do it. They don't have the capability to do it. And the problem is where you and I, like for example, me. I'll just use me as an example. I need real revolutionary shit in order to make the decision that my government has completely gone off the rails, right?
What would an example of that be?
Meaning, for example, I need rail cars, right? I'm looking at it at a level that's higher. I need rail cars. You know, contrary to my liberal friends out there, if the government if Donald Trump became president of the United States and decided that all Democrats are evil, and he was going to start rounding up Democrats and putting on rail cars and taking them to some special camp for re-education, I would fight that. I would fight against that. I would not allow. I would get the fucking tutu and the roller skates out and go fight those motherfuckers, because that's not America. That is not America. Transition of the thing that makes America great is we've always had a smooth transition of power. We have never transitioned power and then executed the opposite side, right? Democrats have always been able to win an election, lose an election. This is the first time.
There's a first time for everything.
But yes, this is the first time where a political system, meaning that, and unfortunately, guys, it's the Democratic Party. You've all thought it would be the fucking Republicans, but this is the first time where we have not had a smooth transition of power, and the party in power has gone after the opposition. They're using everything in their power to go after Donald Trump, instead of just going, hey, you are irrelevant, dude. You lost the election. We're going to run this country the way we run it. The way every transition has happened in the last 200 years in the United States. So, again, if there's not a smooth transition of power and one side or the other decides it's going to go after, like if it's Republicans that's getting put on the train, or if it's people with blue eyes, or if we're rounding up all the, people who eat Oreos, that's not American. That's the thing that pushes me to the point where I don't believe that our government is operating in good faith anymore and operating under the Constitution of the United States, and that creates my rebel alliance. But the people that you just talked about, the people that are watching Netflix and the people that are watching Oreo cookies or eating Oreo cookies, their threshold is a lot smaller. Their threshold is smaller now because they're living in a smaller world. So if the internet disappears or the Oreo cookies don't show up, those people are going to go to the streets a lot quicker. Those fucking people, and I know people are like, oh, you think they're just fat sloths that are sitting in their base. There are all kinds of people. There are people who there are people who are, there are people that are in their basements right now who have actually already hacked into NORAD and are fucking in there playing Pong shit right now. Those are the people who have already fucking seen all of Dan Crenshaw's illegal money and are fucking like, I can make this disappear right. There are people that are, we tend to look around us and go, okay, I see 300 people in this town that could disappear tomorrow and nobody would know. We do that. We tend to look around and think that it's as easy as turning a switch. But it's not. There's 330 million fucking people in this country. You only need 1% of that to create a problem for motherfucking everybody. To include Bill Gates, to include fucking Elon Musk. You only need 1%. That's it. 1%. And 1% of, if you had 1% of the people in the United States who said, fuck this shit, I am not dealing with this fucking illegal government anymore, the country would shut down.
So what's the trigger going to be?
Again,
I think they just keep moving.
I
think that the trigger keeps getting stiffer and stiffer. I think they pass all this shit. And everybody talks about it, and then like it's just like the assault rifle stuff. We're going to ban all guns in California, and then they only ban 20 guns. Oh, well, I didn't have those 20, right? Oh, okay, no problem. And they just keep getting downgraded and downgraded and downgraded until the point some heinous enough shit. Those people who remember those freedoms, they're too old. They're too old to do fucking anything about it.
There's going to be a point where the permanent government believes because you have these individuals that are in there that are pushing this shit, right? There's going to be a point where the permanent government is going to believe that they can do no wrong, and they are going to do wrong. It's going to be the fucking, it's going to be the fucking Tea Party, the fucking Boston Massacre. It's going to be something is going to happen.
You don't think that's on the way right now?
Yeah. Oh no. I 100% believe that something. I 100% believe that something fucking super tragic is going to have to happen in order for Americans to wake up and run those bitches out of town.
From the time they started cataloging the Jews till the time they put them in camps. 8 years.
Yeah, you're talking 8 years.
You don't think we're in year 1 or 2 right now?
Oh, no, we're probably in year, my guess is we're in year
3 or 4.
This is like, we're probably in like 35. We're close. I'm not a wizard. I'm not Nostradamus.
You don't think they already have camps set up and shit?
I can't predict the future. I can't predict the future at all. What I do see is Americans hurtling towards this November election. You have two sides that have created religion out of their politics. Mostly the left has really created a religion out of their politics because they're the ones that have run out religion in the world anyways. But mostly the left is creating this religious political belief. And, if the Pope says you need to go on crusades, the Pope says you need to go on crusades. And that is what's going on in the left. The right, yeah, there's ding-dongs on the right. There's ding-dongs everywhere. But the right is still trying to hold on to what America really is.
Well, the right, while we know there's problems, we still are occupied getting up and going to work. Mm-hmm. The other side doesn't get up and go to work.
Oh, again, I mean, we
run businesses, we raise families.
But you're looking at it from a very micro perspective. The right, the left in this country is actually the majority shareholder in money. The left is actually the people who are uber elitist, Most when you think of the left, it's college educated. It's people who are smart. You can't just say that they're green-haired people wearing tutus. That's the foot soldiers. Those are the pawns.
Those are useless eaters.
Yeah, those are the pawns. That's not really the left. The left is, I mean, unfortunately, the women study green-haired girl on the street or dude, whatever, believes that the left believes that somehow the left is protecting them. The left is worse than when you think of the elitists, the left is worse. The right is you could say that on the right side of the house, you're talking about working class people. On the left, you're talking about, the pawns and uber elitists who are sitting in college campuses trying to plot out how to fucking change the world. That's the left. So that's your Democratic Party. They don't care about people. It's like, for example, I'll just give you an example. The head of the Nuclear Regulatory Committee, that transgender dude or
You're talking about Sam,
I don't know.
the bald
Sam.
guy,
right,
with a lipstick. Right? He was nuclear waste.
Whatever, it doesn't matter, right? I just think about this. He was taken from nowhere, like obscurity. He's fucking nobody. He's fucking a nobody. And they put him in that position in the cabinet. They put him in a fucking, like a real position, paid for by U.S. taxpayers' money. And this fucking bozo the clown that they fucking put in this position of power, because he feels like he has power now, he's stealing luggage. He's stealing fucking luggage. Why? Why was he stealing luggage? You know why he was stealing luggage? Because he believed his position of power would protect him. And unfortunately, or I would say fortunately for the American people, there was enough people that were like, yeah, this motherfucker does not need to be here.
Where is he?
I don't know where the fuck he is. He should be in jail because he was committing theft. But I'm sure that he was protected enough to where he's not in jail because he has some sort of mental illness, because that's exactly what he has. So I'm sure he was protected. No different than the current spokesman for the White House when she was arrested, or when she was not arrested for DUI. Protected. But again, that's because enough people weren't like, maybe she should spend some time in jail like the rest of America. It's just, again, I don't know where to go with this, except I think that, we are at a point where this election is probably going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. And so I think that as an American citizen, you should be preparing yourself for that eventual uncomfortability. I don't know what it's going to be.
In what manner?
Just prepare yourself. Just like you should have some extra food in case the fucking trucks don't run. You should have some fucking extra water at your house in case the power goes out. You should have some fucking, you should get yourself in shape in case you got to walk to the hospital or whatever.
That's where we lose most of them.
Where? The hospital?
They're fine with the buying
shape.
all the stuff, but when you tell them stop being fat, holy shit.
Well, I'm not saying, me personally, I'm not saying.
Just be less fat.
Yeah,
just do something.
You don't need to be fucking a specimen of desire like Brandel. Just, be able to walk somewhere, because you might have to fucking walk to the local creek to get water. You don't want to be the person who.
Jacob Herman said something a few years ago when he and I were on stage that I had never really thought about. And he said, you know what the difference between a first world country and a third world country is? And nobody knew the answer, at least not the answer he was looking for. But the answer was that in a third world country, you spend 50% of your life walking to gather water, and you spend the next 50%, the next portion of that 50%, sterilizing that water so that it won't kill you. That's the difference.
In a third world, in a third world country, you don't even sterilize the water. They just drink it.
That's why the distended bellies, when you saw all the Ethiopia kids,
they just drink it.
Yeah.
Right. There's no concern. There's a certain point where that's the thing that we Americans have lost.
Yeah, when they say
there-
when the power goes out, 90% of the population dies in the first 90 days. That's what a lot of that's going to be. The sewage runs backwards. Like when those one-way valves stop functioning, that sewage will come up inside people's fucking homes. That water will be fucking full of toxins, and we're not conditioned to any of that anymore.
I don't even want to. I don't even want to comprehend that number. I don't think you understand what that number means.
No, I 100%.
That's
understand.
1 in 10.
Yeah.
That's 1 in 10. That means
Is alive. 1 in 10 is alive.
yeah. That means you don't
means,
know.
yeah,
but you don't.
The body will be like cordwood. You won't be able to burn it.
You don't. You know, if 90% of the population of the United States was to die, and you somehow are the one person that lives, you don't know anybody who's still alive.
No.
You don't know anybody. You don't see anybody that's still alive. Like that's a serious issue. And then let's not even think about the stink that would be on this country for at least 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least 6 months, the stink that would be on this country. And then the other thing is,
And they'll
again,
go
again unless you were Randy Weaver and you're living in a cabin in Utah and all your shit is fucking, you got electricity because of solar panels and you're pumping water out of the ground. Nothing works.
Right, but the problem with that is, in addition to that, even if you were prepared for it, sooner or later somebody's going to show up.
No.
Sooner or later somebody's going to show
You
up.
don't-
Before it goes catastrophic, somebody is going to show up, and they're going to want to take you to a place of safety so that you don't get sick, and they're going to want to put you in a camp because you're going to have the small group of people looking for slaves,
But what I'm saying is,
looking for labor.
not when 90% of the population disappears from this fucking country.
You're going to have diseases come back that have been gone for 100 years.
But I mean, I'm just saying, if, for example, right here, if 90% of the population of the United States disappeared, unless you lived in a big populated area, like maybe San Bernardino County, it's a big area. It's in the desert. There is a lot of people that live in caves out there and shit out by 29 Palms. You're not here, Camden, Tennessee. You aren't running into anyone. You are, I promise you, you will think that everyone in the world died. That 90% of the population is a number that you can't fathom. You will think every single one person in the world died. It's not going to be a fucking group of Mexican. It's not going to be a fucking group of gangbangers from fucking Atlanta who are going to show up and be like, yeah, we're looking for slaves. You aren't going to run into them.
No, I'm not talking about gangs. I'm talking about
even the federal government.
Continuity of government.
Even the federal government. In a scenario where 90% of the population disappears, those motherfuckers are all underground. You won't see that. You won't see them pop out for 10 years.
Tell me about the caves.
What do you mean?
You said caves.
Oh yeah, there's people. If you've never been out to 29 Palms, there's people that live out in the caves in 29 Palms.
Like hills have eyes kind of
yeah,
stuff?
kind of like that. Yeah, they're just people that you'll be driving and there'll be a fucking trailer in the middle of the desert that there's no way anybody lives there, and there'll be fucking 4 people living in that thing.
But not in caves.
I'm just saying, what you're really talking about, John, is you're talking about a 10% die-off. You're talking about a 10% die-off, where 10% of the population, kind of like what they pretended COVID was going to do. If 10% of the population died off, that's a different thing. Then you still have some. Yeah, I've seen The Last of Us.
Like that.
Yeah,
the first couple episodes they're running around. I mean, let's look at Katrina, for instance, right? National Guard went around and gathered people up and put them in the dome and shit. That didn't fare well for any of those people. All of their shit was looted while they were gone. They didn't get any of their shit back.
Yeah, you're talking about something that's a little less traumatic. Not that 10% would be not traumatic, because it still would be a motherfucker. But you're talking about a scenario where maybe some government structure still exists, where where fucking, I don't know, 1st Battalion 9th Marines still exists, but there's no government structure to keep them from doing whatever the fuck they want. I mean, that's the thing that people don't understand is we have legions in this country of units that would definitely pack herd, and they would pack herd around certain leadership. And the question would be, would they pack herd in order to maintain the structure of this country, or would they pack her to maintain some sort of
Whatever serves them.
whatever serves them, right? You know, you think about like Idaho, and there's a place up there where all the Delta guys go to retire, right? There's places around this country where there are very well trained, well armed elite groups. And that, I'm not even talking about the guys who fucking retired. I mean, just think again, if the government collapsed tomorrow and for some reason the fucking 82nd Airborne, one battalion from the 82nd Airborne still existed because they were training in fucking Alaska and didn't catch any of the virus, and then came back and became the structure and backbone of something that they could maintain because of what kind of unit it is. That's the future of the country, right? Most countries collapse under fucking military juntas. So that's the future of the country. And the question is, does the Commandant of the Marine Corps that survives and has the capability of maintaining some sort of military structure, does he default to the Constitution? Or does he decide that a military junta is what is necessary and a cleansing of the fucking country? That's the thing you have to worry about. I mean, you know, again, we go back to the 90% of the population disappears. The fucking 90 fucking military, or the 90 nuclear reactors that are across the country immediately melt down within fucking 30 days. Most of the country is going to, you're not even going to be able to go to places. You won't be able to go there because the fucking radiation is going to kill you. There's all kinds of things like that. Like as soon as the generator power goes out in the backup generators at all the fucking sewage treatment plants, all that shit is just going to turn this place into a pretty terrible place to be everywhere. And the problem with the nuclear reactors is, you know where they're all at? I don't. I don't know where they're all at because a lot of them are small, small experimental nuclear reactors. I don't know where they're at. And you camp up next to a place that is fucking melted down. Eventually you're going to get cancer and die. You won't even know why. That's the problem. The problem is we need a lot of people. That's the elitist. That's the problem with elitists. They don't understand that they need hundreds of fucking people to maintain just normal structure. Just maintain, that you don't think about the person who takes your trash out every day. That's why, in New York City, trash collectors have a fucking shit ton of power. Because what do? When they want to raise, they stop collecting trash. And that is a fucking serious problem for New York City. And so those people get raises. That's the thing that elitists don't understand, that somebody takes their trash out. Every time they flush their toilet, there's 100 people involved in that. The fucking water that comes into their house, again, hundreds of people are involved in it. It's like, I always like Austin Powers, right? Where he's on his fucking submarine that's in the sea. You got all these people in gray uniforms around him. The evil genius doesn't do shit. He don't do shit. He sits in a chair and goes, it'd be cool? Red lasers. Well, there's a dude over here going, it'd be cool? If I don't turn this valve off, we all suffocate and die. That would be cool. If I don't, if I don't put my finger in this hole in the side of the submarine, we'd all sink. That's the difference. The difference is evil geniuses don't think about the minions. And when you're fucking, Bill Gates and you're like, I'm going to hire fucking 100 SEALs to fucking keep me alive in the end of times. Yeah, those SEALs are going to fucking take that check. They're going to be like, yeah, thank you for this. And I promise if anything happens, we'll show up. And then they're going to eat Bill Gates and fucking live in his fucking castle and be like, wow, it is really nice that he put all this wine and steaks in here. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm on a tirade. So somehow I got down a rabbit hole.
What were you saying?
I said I'm going to take my medication so I can calm down. I can get comfortable, and then I don't have to worry about revolution or...
Do you take any medications?
I take a ton of medications.
Do you take less now than you did 5 years ago? Mm-mm. You take more?
I don't... Well, yeah, I do take more.
Really?
Yeah, I take more now because I went to Optimize You.
Yeah, I don't call it medication. It's like motherfuckers that smoke weed like my medicine. I don't.
You think that is the same as weed?
Yeah, guys that take weed and they're like my medicine. Yeah.
What would you consider?
If I go to a general practitioner, like your blood pressure's high, you need to be on a statin. That's medication. Performance enhancing drugs are not medication.
I mean, that's somatics, bro. Yeah, it is. It's 100% medication. It's just because it's altering, because whatever you're taking is altering your current physical condition. So it's a medication.
Okay.
It is. I mean, just because
okay, let me add some more words here.
Just because you got
medication, do you have to take any medications to keep you alive?
According to a general practitioner, yes. I'm taking medications that are keeping me alive.
That's what I'm talking about. I go to a doctor, and they're like, oh, shit, you're going to die. So I just don't go to a doctor, right? And every time I go to a doctor, like every 5 years, they're like, oh, shit, you're going to die. But I go 25 years and I still haven't died.
I mean, the reality is we're all dying.
Correct. But like the blood pressure thing, they lose their fucking mind over the blood pressure.
Well, that's because...
But everything you see says that the machines are horse shit. You need to fucking go in fasted. You need to sit there a minimum of 5 minutes, not have any stimulants, right? So they make this big fucking deal. Oh, my God. And then 2 other nurses come in with 2 more fucking blood pressure things. And, of course, it raises your blood pressure because you're like, these people are freaking out.
Because it's the average. It's the average of law rule. That's why.
No, I think it's the self-pharmaceutical rule.
No. It's the average of law rule. The average of law rule is your general practitioner, when your general practitioner puts the cuff on people and starts doing blood pressure, okay, remember, they're taking an average of all the people within the medical community, and they're like, okay, when a normal person sits in this chair, this is what their blood pressure should be. So it's the average of law rule. And then when the blood pressure is super high, they're like, bro, you're going to have a heart attack, but you are different. You're not in the average category because you've been taking stimulants since you were like 3. And so your heart rate is going to be up outside of their average, but because they don't have an average of your blood pressure, right? It's really what they're doing is they're taking a scoop of individuals across the world and they're like, this is what average blood pressure is. But they don't have your average blood pressure because they haven't been taking it for the last 25 years. So, of course, when they look at your shit, they're going to be like, you're about to have a heart attack and die. Because it's the average of everybody else, not your average. It's why when Jerry sees your shit, or when they call Jerry and they're like, this dude's about to have a heart attack. He's like, no, we take his blood pressure all the time. That's average for him. It's normal for his range because he's been taking stimulants since he was 2. So that's why. It's because they don't have an average of you. Like if you would have had a personal physician, or not even really a personal physician, but let's say you had a doctor that you'd been going to for all this time, 30 years. That's what that doctor would go, that's about average. That's John's average blood pressure. But because they're taking an average from society in general, that's why they look at your shit and go, so you're about to explode.
We have girls on the floor, right? And every time there's seemingly some ailment, they go to the doctor or the emergency room or urgent care or somewhere, and they come back with fucking 3 more pills. 3 more fucking pills. I'm on a blood pressure. Why are you on a blood pressure medication? Why don't you just, I don't know, start working out? Why don't you just work out a little bit or eat a little bit less shit, right? And it's always, have to cut the salt, have to cut the salt, have to cut the salt. No, you need to stop eating the shit that's amplifying the fucking salt. The salt's not the problem. You need fucking sodium. But it's always, and then the blood pressure medication, which is, I believe, a diuretic or something, creates a bunch of other fucking problems in them. But the whole time you go in there and there's fucking bottles of 2-liter soda. They literally drink a bottle of 2-liter fucking soda through the day. Mountain Dew. There's a girl in there right now with a 2-liter bottle of fucking Mountain Dew. And it's always some other shit. We wouldn't want to just stop drinking the Mountain Dew. The doctor never told her that.
I'm not going to stop.
I'm not talking about you.
Well, again, there's nothing outside of the chemical in here that makes me happy.
Aspartame?
No, aspartame is the thing that they put in there to kill you. Aspartame is the thing in there that they put in to kill you. But there's another chemical in here. Dave looked it up that makes you happy, and that's why I drink it all, so I don't end up taking the federal government over and using the entire might of the federal government to attack Alabama.
Why don't you just take the ingredient?
Because I'm going to say the same thing that I told Doc Jerry. I don't have the fucking time or the energy or the even wherewithal to be doing that kind of. It's like, I do take it. Every day I take it right here. This is triple filtered. This is triple filtered water, so it's the cleanest water you're going to get. It's got a chemical in here to make you happy. It's got saccharin in there too to appease somebody. I don't know. It was weird because they actually took it out. They took saccharin out of Diet Pepsi, and I didn't notice the difference. But they lost 5%. They lost 5% over a year in revenue because of the saccharin. And so they literally, Pepsi was like, all right, we're putting it back in.
Okay, so tell me about aspartame.
It's bad for you.
Is it not in there?
I mean, yeah, it's. I said saccharin. It's aspartame that's in here, I believe. That's the chemical that they took out and then replaced.
How is aspartame bad for you?
In large doses in clinical trials, it created cancer in lab mice.
Yeah, but do you know how much they did?
Yeah, they did a ton. I know.
What's large dosage?
I don't. I'm not. Again, I'm not going to go in the weeds like you, John, and know everything about the testosterone game or whatever.
Is aspartame bad for me?
Yes. Well, okay. Again, they say it's bad for you. I don't know. I drink gallons of this shit. Like when I say gallons, guys, yes, I drink gallons of this shit. So I've had plenty of people say that it's going to kill you. I've also had physicians say, if it haven't killed you yet, it's probably not going to kill you. I mean, again, we're dying eventually.
It might be what's holding you together.
I do believe that the chemical in here, the chemical that they put in here that makes you happy, is what is holding me together. Plus, I know you don't know this, John. Brandel kind of does. The flavor, because I drink so much of this, it makes my kisses taste magical. So, I mean, if anybody out there wants to,
I like how you know it.
don't be shy. It makes my kisses taste magical, so that's why I drink it.
So there's something in there that makes you happy. What else could just make you happy? Don't guns make you happy?
They used to. They don't anymore.
They don't anymore.
Don't.
So you're selling them all off. Oh, no, you can't sell them all off because if you sell one firearm now, you're a gun dealer.
No, I'm not going to sell them.
ATF, have you heard all that?
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Is it bullshit? They're going to arrest some people over it, I guarantee it.
No.
You don't think so?
You have to remember that the individual that was... You have to remember that the individual that they shot and killed over that...
Where was this?
Oh, you didn't...
Oh, you're talking about at Bill Hillary Clinton's airport.
No.
Clinton
Airport. They did a... you don't know this, oh. They did recently, the ATF did a...
The dude for selling all the guns at the gun show.
Yeah, but they did a 6 o'clock raid on his house.
He ran the airport in Arkansas.
Yes, correct, yes. And but he was not charged with a crime. He was not charged with a crime in any way. They didn't charge him with a crime. They were there to execute a search warrant to look for evidence. They didn't have any evidence of a crime, even though they tried to get him to commit a crime at a gun show. So they didn't have evidence of a crime. They had a search warrant. And because they decided again to fucking raid his house at the wee hours of the morning and breach his door, when he came out armed and they killed him.
Did he fire on him?
Yes, he did fire on him. So, I mean, could it be a tragedy, just an accident? Yeah, it could be an accident, but I don't think law enforcement, I don't think law enforcement, again, if I had the magic wand of the Department of Justice, I would make it illegal. I would make it illegal for law enforcement to do those types of raids, except under extreme circumstances. That we don't need to do that anymore.
So I watched 3 or 4.
But I mean, literally, they don't need to do that anymore. The ATF could literally go, "Hey, we want to arrest Brandel." Okay, you know where he's going to be on Wednesday? Because here's his phone tracker. We know exactly where he's going to be. We can fucking walk up and just handcuff him in fucking McDonald's.
Yeah, we could just fucking hot stop him.
We don't need to blow people's doors in, send a bunch of fucking TAC guys in with machine guns. This is America. You don't
So
need
why
to
do you think
that
they're
shit.
doing it?
Oh, it's all budgetary dollars, John. It's all budgetary dollars. If you have a fucking, for example, I'll just use the ATF because this is what happened. The ATF gets budgeted millions of dollars every year to train and maintain those tactical units. If they don't use those tactical units, if they don't have that justification for those tactical units in there, they lose that money. They don't want to lose that money.
So I watch 3 or 4 YouTube channels that are law firms,
Mm-hmm.
and they go over all these raids and a bunch of different stuff. It's not just gun stuff, but and they said, and the chick, she's an attorney also, and she said, when's the last time you remember a knock warrant? Because they're all no-knock warrants.
Yes.
They're all 6 a.m. no-knock warrants. And they've killed, there's like dozens of these dudes where they've gone into question or execute search warrant. And they killed the big fat guy in Utah, right? The dude had 1 leg. He was in a scooter, and they fucking smoked his ass at 6 a.m. in the morning also. And all of them, she said on this one, she says, they had all this document. They'd followed him around for like a year. They had surveillance footage of him selling guns at the gun show. They could have stopped him on the way home. They could have stopped him on the way to work. He stops at this 4-way intersection every fucking morning, and they don't ever do that. Like they say David Koresh. They said, we could have had David Koresh any morning at the diner. He jogged into town, had breakfast. When they approached the sheriff said, no, you don't need to execute this search warrant. I'll have him come in. When they did our raid, when they came in on my raid, they were in there at fucking 6:30 in the morning. 2 NCIS officers walked in, identified themselves as NCIS, and said, hey, we're switching from 226s to 228. Will you give me a quote? I generated a quote for them. They were in the building with just me. The only person in the entire building was me and those 2 NCIS agents. It might have been 7 o'clock, but it was prior to, I think it was like 6:45 or so. They could have said, hey, you need to sit down right here. We're going to handcuff you. We're doing this warrant.
Again, what you're talking about is a justification. Yes, they most certainly could do that. We'll start with the Branch Davidians. The reason why the ATF did not have the sheriff just bring him in was because they had already set up a media circus. The whole point of the Branch Davidian thing was the ATF was on the hot seat for a bunch of other bullshit that was going on, and the FBI was trying to get the ATF closed. The FBI was trying to absorb the ATF. Why? Again, line item vetoes. It's all fucking money. They don't give a shit about enforcing law. It's all about fucking money and how much money they can get from the government. They were trying to absorb the ATF. The ATF was using this as a stunt in order to make them look cool. That's why CBS and NBC and all those motherfuckers were out there when it happened.
They were all at P. Diddy's house
because they wanted to show America that the ATF was relevant. And unfortunately, what happened, and the ATF got their asses handed to them.
What do you think's going on with the ATF approving suppressors and SBRs so quickly now? Guys are saying they're getting approved in like 4 days or something.
A buddy of mine just had his approved in a week and a half.
Why all of a sudden?
Because it goes to line item vetoes, right? It goes to money. Part of the argument that is being argued in court is that they take a year to approve these things, right? Why does it take the ATF a year to approve these things? Well, the reason it takes them a year is because they only have fucking 9 employees doing the fucking shit. But part of that argument in court is I am unduly burdened because I have to wait a year for you to approve the thing that should be approved immediately, right? That's what's being argued in court. So what the ATF is doing is they're setting precedents right now by saying, by approving all these things real quick while they're in court, so they can go to court and they can go, Your Honor, they don't have a case here. We're approving these things instantly, right? But again, the ATF doesn't have a mandate to approve things in a timely manner. There's no law that says they have to approve them in a timely manner. So as soon as these court cases are over, we're going back to fucking 90 days. We're going back to a year.
Even after demonstrating that they have the capability
Yes,
to do
even
it correctly?
even after demonstrate, because there's no mandate for them to do it
So,
one way or the other.
I see a lot of grumbling on the internet saying that the ATF is on the chopping block again.
Could be.
And they're
again,
doing this to catalog as much as they can, as quickly as they can.
That's not it. It has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with, again, line item vetoes, and they bring in the short barrel rifle, or the short barrel rifle, the suppressor, all those class 3 things brings in a ton of fucking money.
Are those all $200 tax stamps?
They're
same
all
as a machine gun.
For some reason, I think one of them is $300, but they're all still in the $200 range, right? But that even still, especially when you think about how popular suppressors have been in the last couple of years, it's bringing in a ton of fucking money to the ATF. A ton of money is coming into the ATF. There is a federal court case going on right now that can destroy the ability of the ATF to regulate suppressors. That's millions of dollars that will immediately fall off the table. Again, starting to make them fucking irrelevant. There's a federal court case right now on short barrel rifles, on fucking SBRs, that they may lose. That's millions of dollars that is taken off the table for the AT. It's all fucking money. It's all money. That's millions of dollars that they will lose if they lose that case. There's another, with the fucking pistol brace thing. The pistol brace, again, millions of dollars.
Isn't the pistol brace back to legal now, or is that?
It's technically in legal limbo, right? It's technically in legal limbo. The courts have given a stay of execution to people with the brace. They've given an injunction to the people with the brace, but we're still fighting it in court. So technically, there's like 3 organizations that if you belong to. But what it does
I
is
got you, because they're the ones that sued. I know.
Yeah, what it does is it makes it unenforceable. So technically, there's like these 3 organizations that you could belong to, and you have an injunction, meaning the ATF can't enforce the law against you until this court case is adjudicated, till it's done. Well, there's so many people within that it makes it unenforceable for the ATF, because if the ATF goes around and starts harassing people with pistol braces, do you belong to this organization or do you not? I don't have to tell you that. The court has not ordered the organizations to give up the names of these people. So it becomes a thing of time, money, and effort. Do you put any time, money, and effort in attempting to stop people from using these pistol braces, or do you go on and do other things? Again, the ATF,
like actual fight crime.
Yeah, I mean, let's be clear.
What about the guns coming across the border?
We dogpile a lot on federal agencies, and there's a ton of people in the ATF that are doing good work.
Good. Go down to the border and background check all those motherfuckers.
There's dudes doing it. It's just, again, you have a government that doesn't. A government. It's not in the federal government's best interest to be efficient. It's in their best interest to be inefficient in everything they do, because if they're inefficient, then when Dick Cheney comes out and he's like, "Oh, we don't know where $12 billion is at," people are like, "It's the government. It's the government." Well, they know exactly where the money went. They know exactly who stole it, they know it to the fucking penny, because that's how it really works. But if everybody thinks that the government's inefficient, then they can really be inefficient.
Did you see California misplaced? They can't identify where $200 million has gone for the homeless situation in California.
I know where it went. It went to fucking
Newsom.
Yeah, he bought a winery.
So it was funny because Valuetainment was saying it's odd that number was also the number they said it would take to complete the fucking wall on the border. It was like $200 million or something. Yeah. The same amount that Newsom is missing could have also fucking contained the border.
Well, did you know that the Department of Defense just recently started releasing money to build the wall?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they're taking it out of the current budget to help build the wall.
Why?
Because that's what Trump put in the.
So it takes the wind out of his sails.
It takes the wind out of his sails a little bit. Not really, because they're. Again, government is inefficient.
Imagine if motherfuckers just did what was actually good for the country. Imagine if they had the best interest of the country.
If the entire government
Yeah, you would
Not
only
even-
need,
well,
you would
not
only, we could get rid of 90% of them.
I don't need to say the entire government. If let's just say 60% of the government
Did his fucking job.
only did what was in the best interest of the United States and only operated within the confines of the Constitution. Okay, if this government did this, 60% of the government operated within the confines of the Constitution and did only things that were best for America, we would already have one world government. It would be America.
It was.
We would already be the fucking shining. Everybody would be. We'd be flying around in cars. It would be
The
exactly
Jetsons.
yeah, it
You'd
would
have
already
that-
be that way.
That cool little sound.
It would already be that way, but they don't. And the crazy part is the current politician structure that we have now. Their goal to get into politics is to steal as much money as they can while they're in politics. If they were actually doing their fucking jobs the way they're supposed to be doing their jobs, the prosperity that would come to America would float them up rich anyways.
It's all communism. It's what Yuri Bezmenov. You know who that was, right? He
Yeah.
was a KGB agent. Came to the United States in the 70s or 80s. Wrote several books. He died not long ago, I believe. But he said, he laid it out in the 80s. This is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to happen, and this is what it's going to lead to. And it's China putting all the money into it. It's like our politicians are owned by China, and they are using communism. It is literally like the Communist Manifesto.
The issue that you have with the idea of communism in the sense that's not what the elites really want. They don't want communism. What they want is fiefdoms. Okay, what they want is they want to go back to a system of royals and serfs.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, they live in the castle. You farm their oats. They let you eat a little bit of it. The meat is all theirs.
The problem with the Chinese model is they think that they are buying influence and favor by sending money here.
Why don't the Chinese just kill all those people?
Kill all who?
All the people that they want to keep in their 15-minute cities. I mean, they're not producing a product. They're not using them for labor. Why don't they just kill them?
Again, the Chinese have the same problem we have here. When you say, why don't they just kill all them people? They don't have the capability to control the outcome. They don't have the capability to control the outcome. There's there's 1 billion people in China. So if you killed, if you're Pooh Bear and you're like, you know what, fuck it, we're gonna kill all these people, and you kill 11 million people, the others aren't going to stand for it because again, it's exponential. You have the same problem.
Did you see them pulling all those people out of their houses? Did you see them when they locked down all those high rises? And
Yeah, I
shit?
saw that.
And the drones were like, go back inside, and they were going door to door and taking all their pets, right?
Right.
They were taking the pets so that they didn't have the ability to eat the pets, so that they could starve them faster, right?
Kind of. Yeah.
And then when they pushed them into those fucking corrals, and they were actually force vaccinating everybody, not a one of those dudes picked up a stick or a table leg or anything.
Here's the issue. Here's the issue with that statement. The issue with that statement is you are referring to propaganda that has been pushed on us.
Okay, so what?
You don't know that any of that's true. You don't know that. First off, you don't know that anything that they showed, anything that you saw, with the Chinese being locked up and drones telling them to go back.
We don't know that it even came from China.
That any of that actually happened, and you also don't know if there was a rebellion or not, because they have the capability to control all that.
Well, I think that in the United States, if people started handling shit, we also wouldn't know it.
No, we would know it.
How?
Because, John, the difference between China and us, is look at every movie that's ever been put out. America is a rebellion. We are a rebellion. Everybody wants to rebel. We are a fucking rebellion. And so all we need is the catalyst.
Who are they rebelling against?
It's not that we rebel against, but it's in our blood. We are a rebellion. The establishment of America was a rebellion.
I don't think it's in their blood anymore.
Yes, it is. It's why we cheer for fucking Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. We are really the Empire. We are really the empire. We are Darth Vader's right there in fucking Washington, D.C. right now. We have stormtroopers all around the world enforcing our will. We are really the empire, but we vote. When's
the last time you saw the White House?
Oh, it's been years. Donald Trump as president, because you can't get near the White House because the National Guard troops are around it.
I don't think you can even see the White House anymore. I think there's fucking castle walls around it.
No, you can still see it from. I've seen video of it. From Pennsylvania Avenue, but there's every 14 feet there's a National Guard troop. So, I mean, what I say is we have a rebellious nature. It's why.
Do you think those are actually National Guard troops?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, they were vetted.
Are they rotating them in or out, or have they become something completely different?
It's become what do you call it? The Emperor's Guard, the Praetorian Guard. It's become an Emperor's Guard because they vetted everybody there, and anybody that did not have the political identity that they were looking for were sent home. So there's a good chance that I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I'm naive, but I think if 10,000 people marched on Washington D.C. because of some thing that happened or some law that we're tired of, I don't think that those troops would open fire. I don't think those National Guard guys would open fire. Now, the Secret Service guys on the roof, maybe.
You gonna go see Civil War, the movie?
No. No interest in it.
It was pretty terrible.
Yeah, just the premise of it. Just the premise of it is moronic. You're not going to have free movement if this country blows up in a civil war. You're not going to have free movement to go anywhere, reporter or not.
Who do you think is going to prevent it?
Well, okay, we have this idea of civil war, and the idea that we have of civil war is from what we observed in the last Civil War, where we had lines. And you could be in New York City and drinking coffee, or in Mobile, Alabama, drinking a sweet tea while this war was going on somewhere else, because blue troops and gray troops are marching on each other to fight. That's not the next Civil War in the United States. It's not going to be fucking uniformed soldiers picking some fucking place where nobody's at to blow up. It's going to be more like Sherman's March, or it's going to be more like what happened in Missouri. It's going to be neighbor against fucking neighbor. So ain't nobody driving anywhere in the United States, because every place you go, think about it. When you drive down 70, do you know where the Democrats live? Do you know where the Republicans live? If that's the line that gets drawn in the sand, do you know where they live? Fuck no, you don't know where they live. And so every place you go is going to be a goddamn warlord who controls that part of the fucking, and it will be just like the movie. What kind of American are you? So it's not going to be this fucking thing where we wake up on a Wednesday and we're like, oh my God, I can't believe fucking Tennessee just attacked Alabama. It's not going to be like that. You're going to wake up and you're going to look out your window and go, holy shit, everything is on fucking fire. Who's that just ran down the street on fire? That's what it's going to be like. It's going to be fucking mayhem.
I think you have people that would literally just sit up and shoot people on roads every day.
Oh, you're gonna,
if it wasn't for electronics giving them away.
You're going to, well, again, we have a structural system in this country that requires people. This motherfucker ain't going to be working. It's not going to be working. It might be working for the first hour, but the first time a bunch of dudes from, I don't know, New Jersey are like, hey, we're going to meet up at the courthouse. All this shit's getting turned off. That shit ain't going to be working. You're not going to have to worry about that.
That's my point.
Well, again, my point is this. As Americans, we need to be involved in what's going on in our politics and stop them before any of this happens. Is it possible to do that? I don't know, because of what we have created with these two religion icons. But there's no good outcome
Yeah, you have to have a
For s-
separation.
But there's no
and
good outcome
the only
civil war.
politics that you can affect are your local politics.
Well, yeah, but that again, that's trickle up. Because just like I said, and this happens all over the country all the time. The federal government, all those assholes that are stealing from us right now, cannot enforce a fucking single law. They can't enforce a single law
without local level government.
Without local level government responding. They can't.
Which is how the only way you're going to change anything.
I'll give you
have to be involved in local politics.
I'll give you an example. The sheriff of San Bernardino County was like, fuck off, we're not doing any of these mandates. Did the state of California send the National Guard down to San Bernardino County and enforce the mandates? No. They don't have the capability. If local representatives are like, fuck you. I mean, like literally, if we wanted to, I don't know, at a large level, for example, I'll use Tennessee. If Tennessee decides that they don't want, or we'll use the marijuana thing. If Tennessee decides tomorrow that everybody can grow fucking pot, it's still federally illegal. Can people in Tennessee grow pot? Yes. And they will. And the feds can't do shit because local law enforcement is not going to support their endeavor. Unless you're in California and you want to rob pot growers. But again, you have to have the ability, you have to have that trickle down. You have to have local representatives that are willing to be like, okay, we'll send the sheriff down there and fucking burn all his shit.
Right. You're never going to know what's happening though at a local level unless you are involved in local level politics.
Correct. Yeah, correct. I mean, again,
because you have to be the gatekeeper between them and the local level law enforcement.
Again, we are super comfortable. We assume that I think the issue is we assume that everybody wants to do good, right? We assume that.
No, I think more people want to do bad than good.
Yes.
I think that it's the threat of imprisonment that keeps them. That's the only thing that keeps them together.
But if you really thought that the bad that they were going to do was really that bad, then you would do something about it. You would do something about it. But because we are comfortable, we have this acceptance level of what they can get away with. Everybody's comfortable with it. We're like, okay, well, it didn't affect me. How did that affect? And that is the biggest problem with Republicans. The biggest problem with Republicans is Republicans want to be left alone. And in saying they want to be left alone, in saying, I just want to be left alone. I want to be over here on my property. I want to grow food. I don't want any part of that. You do whatever the fuck you want. The problem with that is you're allowing them to do whatever the fuck they want. And so eventually, whatever the fuck they want is going to be at your fucking door. And you didn't do anything about it.
Well, it is at people's doors.
No, it's not.
Like if you look at Colorado, just shut off their metering wells. They just shut off all the market gardens. Colorado, Washington, or Oregon. I think it was Washington.
When you say,
they just did like market gardens. Okay, you grow 10 acres or 100 acres.
Right.
So they came up with this. You can only use 1,000 gallons of water per month. I believe it's per month. That puts all these people out of business. Now, if you can apply for a commercial permit, which is only $300 per year. You have to maintain, I believe it was 1,000 acres. So it took all those people and cut them out and turned off their fucking ability to grow any of this shit.
You say all those people.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the issue. Okay. Again, it's not at their door. If it was at their door, they'd be in their garage with a welder and a D9 tractor, and they'd be doing something about it. Well,
they are. They're leaving Colorado. Well, they're leaving Oregon.
Good. But what I'm saying is,
I hear you.
Until you are willing to stand up for what you believe in, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they turned off all the water. If the people that own that land and were doing what they were doing are unwilling to stand up and fight a tyrannical government, their local tyrannical government, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's why I'm saying comfortable. If they came here tomorrow and said, we're taking all your land and we're going to turn it into a sewage treatment plant, and there's nothing you can do about it, and you go, I'm going to fight you in court. I'm moving to fucking Kentucky. Okay. You chose comfortability over moral principle. We do it every fucking day. We do it. I do it. I do it. I'm out here. I'm out here preaching. I'm out here preaching.
There's not an outcome where you keep the property.
I'm out here preaching.
You lose your life. You lose your life.
Maybe.
You take a couple of them with you.
Maybe.
They kill you.
Maybe.
And they still make the sewer treatment plant.
Maybe. That didn't happen in Arizona.
What? Tell me about Arizona.
With Bundy's Ranch. It didn't happen there.
Wasn't that Vegas?
Or Vegas, wherever it was. Why? Why did it not happen? You know why it didn't happen? Because Americans stood up and supported that issue.
Americans stood. James Yeager stood up.
Well, again, Americans. That's what I'm saying. There's a point where you have to push back, or they're going to keep pushing. And again, it's comfortability. If you're comfortable, and you're like, because you just said it, you lose your life. People lose their lives all the time for reasons that don't matter. They lose their lives all the time for reasons that don't matter. What more noble of a cause to lose your life for something that does matter? This country matters. America matters. We, contrary to what everybody thinks or what everybody's preaching, especially on the fucking left, this is the only hope for the world. We are the shining light. We bring more people out of poverty every year than any other country in the world. We are the shining light. We've allowed corruption and nepotism to seep into the government organization, which we have, but we are still, there ain't no fucking country that is better than the United States. None. Fucking Denmark is not out there patrolling the seas and making sure that everybody gets the heating fuel that they need to survive the winter. They're not. Norway's not doing it. It's us. It's the United States of America. The only reason why we've had peace and prosperity for the last fucking 200 years is because America has stood up and filled that goddamn void. That's it. We are the hope. The Constitution of the United States is the greatest fucking document that has ever been written. And if we follow it and we execute it and we force our fucking politicians to also follow that Constitution.
They're not following it.
Okay, well, again, it takes Americans to stand up and make them. And I'm not talking about pitchforks and fucking flamethrowers. I'm talking about just your goddamn votes. Just your votes. Vote those pieces of shit out of office. Hold them to the fire. You can recall every goddamn one of them right now. But nobody's doing it. We're just sitting around fucking watching TV, playing games on our goddamn phone while the fucking house burns around us. The world, here's the thing.
You don't think Trump won the last election?
I don't think Trump won.
You don't think Trump actually won the last election?
Yes, Trump 100% won the last election.
But who's the president?
Joe Biden.
So the voting didn't do shit.
No, voting did do shit. Voting elected Donald Trump as president of the United States. Voting did.
So why didn't it work the next time then?
The people allowed it to not work. That's why I'm saying voting worked. It worked.
So you just need a spark.
Yeah, you need, again, that's why I think this next election, because, again, everybody realizes that they fucking cheated. The Democrats have done nothing for this country. Joe Biden.
You think they're going to let them do it again?
No. That's why I say fucking, run around your block, put some fucking potatoes in your cellar, get some extra canned food, maybe get that gun out of your dresser drawer and shoot some rounds into a target, because who knows what this election is going to bring? Maybe nothing. I hope there's a fucking, I hope the fucking permanent government's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm done with Joe Biden. Here's the transition of power. You guys, you can have the fucking keys of the White House. I hope there's a perfect transition. I don't want fucking civil war. I don't want any of that.
Why do you think Trump didn't just fucking use the military and kill the permanent government?
Well, because, again, you have to understand that the military is controlled by the permanent government, not the president of the United States, because they are part of the permanent government. Who serves longer who is in uniform longer, the president of the United States or a fucking general officer? A general officer. He's going to do 30 years. The president's going to do 4, 8 if he's lucky, right? So he is part of the permanent government. The Commandant of the Marine Corps is part of the fucking permanent government. Been part of the permanent government for fucking 30 years. He knows who he calls and who he doesn't call.
If Trump gets reelected, can he do 8 years? Can he do 2 terms back to back, having already done one?
No, that's his 8.
So 8. It can 8, even if it's broken.
8, yeah, that's it.
Not 8 consecutive.
Yeah, 8 is it. So he'll get one more tour, but his son's going to get elected president.
Which one?
Byron, the time traveler.
That's who's graduating.
Yeah, he's going to get elected president.
Graduating high school in a couple days.
He will probably be the end of
Barron.
Barron. Sorry, Barron. He will probably be the end of elections in the United States.
You don't think Donald Trump Jr.?
No, it's Barron. It's already been predicted. That book that came out in the 1800s. Did you see that? Yeah.
No, I saw it.
It's already been predicted. So he's going to be president, and because of all the things that he has seen, that all of the things that he has seen that the permanent government has done, he's going to be like Caesar. He's going to kill all his opponents, and he's going to declare himself Caesar of the United States.
Kill all the Democratic children.
I'm just kidding. I don't know any of that to be true. I haven't even read that book, but it's him. He's going to be the one that's going to run for president. He's already, Bette Davis and shit, all those guys. He's already been on.
Motherfucker. I say it every week, and I'm like, hey, do you know who they are?
But he's already doing the circuit.
Yeah.
Like he brought those guys out and had dinner with them. And what did they say? Those guys were like, again.
Yeah, all those dudes, that whole crew left California. They're in Florida now.
But, again, I don't want any of this to be true.
How many potatoes you got?
I don't have any potatoes. Civil War breaks out, I'm done, man. I'm done. I'm gonna do one thing. I'll have if Civil War, guys, so don't come to Tennessee, because if Civil War breaks out, I have one mission that I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it to my best ability, and I won't be in Tennessee. That's it. And it won't. And my mission's not going to help anybody in the Civil War. I'm doing it for me, not for anybody else.
All right.
So, anyways, I don't want Civil War to break out. I mean, again, I have all that stuff. I got food and all that shit, but I'm old.
How's your solar thing?
Good. It's
EcoFlow?
I'm all, hey, EcoFlow, you should send me some love. I'm all EcoFlow. I'm all in. That thing works fucking awesome. Let me tell you, that air conditioner, if you have a small space, like a van or a car, something's not, it can't be super big because it's not a big air conditioner, but if you have a small space, that fucking thing works awesome.
And you're charging off solar?
You can charge it off solar.
Are you charging off soler?
Right now, no, because it's inside the garage.
Got it.
I'm
so
still
you're
working
just
on it.
Charging it off, though.
I just charge it off hard power. Yeah, but I haven't really needed to charge it. Like I play with it, and I haven't really it hasn't been below 80% on the battery.
You have the solar panels?
Yeah, I bought the 400 watt one.
Came with a kit.
So when I hook the 400 watt power or panels up, I think you guys can look it up, but it's like, it really only puts out like 360 or 380 watts. But when I hook the panel up and I have the AC unit going, the heater AC unit, it's a combo, guys. So I had the heater on. It was pushing more power into the battery than I was consuming. So I was still charging the battery while
So you're in a positive.
Yeah, I was in a positive. So it's fucking awesome. I haven't had any problems with it. The funny thing is, I'll probably die in a horrible fire one day, but the main power unit, the battery and the what do you call it? Inverter. I was putting it in the trailer. I was putting it in the trailer, and I hear one tiny screw rolling around in the bottom of that motherfucker. I'm like, man, that's gonna short out one day and I'm gonna explode. But it works great. I don't have any complaints about that system. I mean, I'm sure the Blue Yeti does the same shit. But I mean, it's a small package. It fits where I want it. The air conditioner, like I had the heater on in the dog kennel. Now I don't know what the square footage is inside that dog kennel, but I could only run the heater for about 8 minutes, and it was fucking scalding in there. So
That's how it was in the race trailer.
Yeah.
In the aluminum trailers we have, when we would run the propane heater, you could only run it for a couple minutes. You'd be cooking.
Yeah.
But then in an hour, you'd be freezing again when you turn it off.
So, I mean, I think it's going to work out great.
So we did a live Tuesday. Nicole and I did a live with Sean Mills from Hack My Homestead, Hack My Solar. And he said that he can put together, for the price that we paid for the Blue Eddy, like mine was like $6,000 or something, right? He's like, dude, I can build you twice as much power for half the price. These have beautiful fit and form. They're nice. But he's like, I just put them in toolboxes. We build them into like a rolling toolbox.
Yeah.
And he said, they're heavier. They're not as convenient, but you get way more power for way less money.
Yeah, that's the issue. We're paying
Yeah.
for convenience. I mean, the only reason why I really went with EcoFlow is because all that system's plug and play.
Yep, the
like
AC.
I know Evan probably could have put a small nuclear reactor back there, and I could have been able to build a power up a fucking a small city, but I wanted plug and play.
Right.
And the other thing is, I don't know why in my head, but in my head I also wanted something that I could take out. So the way it's set up right now, the air conditioner it's not really permanently mounted in there, but it's in a spot where I know I'm probably not going to take it out. But the battery pack I can take out.
Right.
Pretty easy. So I kind of wanted to be able to take all that shit out of there.
And so the Blue Eddy has a big box and then two smaller boxes. And the big box is all of the unit and controller and everything,
Right, yeah.
and a battery. The two small boxes are additional battery packs. And I can take all three of those boxes. I can take those two smaller packs and put one in each truck. And it's a battery pack with USB-C. And I can charge everything I'm going to need in that vehicle and have power there, and power here. And you can expand it up, just like the EcoFlow. You can expand it up to 90 of those boxes.
Yeah, the EcoFlow is the same way.
Yeah.
I have a main unit that has all the 110 and all that shit on there, and the inverter, and a smaller battery in there, and then you can attach additional batteries. I don't think the additional batteries have any of the 110 shit, but it has USB. You can charge your phones and shit like that.
So Sean said you can get you can buy power right now for 30 cents a watt. Like the cost is just tanked because they're coming out with more and more and more. And he said, really, you have all these brands setting up, and they're really coming out of just a couple of places. And he said, I said, what do these panels look like, right? Are they 2x4s? He said, no, these are 3x6 foot panels. These are big panels. And he's buying them. He's getting brand new pallets of these things. Basically, they come out with a new model, just like a Surefire light. Every 6 weeks, there's a brand new Wazoo flashlight, and they don't bring them to market right away because they have all this inventory. So he's able to buy these panels up, and then the battery is the real thing, right? We can run solar that would run a whole entire building all day long, but as soon as the sun goes down, it's the storage. And Nicole has these batteries. She showed them on the live while we were there. She pulled them up on the screen, but she had paid $1,400. These batteries are down to $1,100 now. And I said, what would I need to run the apothecary, right? Because Tad, this is gunned out we're at 18,000 BTUs for this building. And Tad he said, put a 24 BTU in that building over there. And I said, what would it take to run this? He said, you would need 3 of these batteries. So you're at $3,300 for battery capacity, and then however many panels. Now you can run less or more panels and run shore power, and then when it goes off, or put the panels out. But we don't even have to tie them on the roof. We could literally take the panels and put them against the fence, which is because the building's the big building's blocking the sun to the little building.
Why not put them on the top of the big building?
Because when you put stuff on top of the building, you're eventually going to have a problem with leaks and holes and such like that. There's a track system. You can totally put it, to do it properly, there's this track system you put in.
Fuck, dude, if you covered that building with solar panels, not even the little building? I'm talking about the shop.
Building, yeah.
If you covered the shop with solar panels, it would do 2 things. It would create an air gap between your roof and the sun, so your roof would be cooler. And man, you'd be pumping it. You'd have gigawatts, dude. You'd be selling power to the city.
You would be, but they don't pay for it any longer.
I know.
And then again, the battery capacity, right? So if we were going to run storage capacity, we don't run all of this during the day. we would just need storage capacity for 10% of what we normally run, and really it would be the big 3-door freezers and fridges and shit is what would need the capacity. But that little building, you can just put the panels. And Sean said, he's like, hey, here's an example, right? We got 8 inches of snow this year. I had to get up on the roof in 8 inches of snow and blow all this off. And I'm taking the risk not only of getting on the roof, I'm doing it when there's snow and moisture. Like otherwise you have nothing. You're getting no power through those when those are covered.
Right.
You have to uncover them. He's like, I prefer to put everything ground mount, which, now you've taken the footprint of the ground. He's like, but you don't necessarily even have to ground mount it. You could put them on a carport, right? It might look like you could use it to put stuff underneath, but it's not on the structure.
Right.
Whereas we could mount those other ones because the big building's here, the little building's here. So this is blocking the sun. So he said you can mount panels on the other side of the roof and you're catching reflection off the ground, but you're going to charge it where you're not going to get 100%, you might get 75%. Because I was asking about this building, right? We're oriented the wrong direction. South is that way, and this building runs this way, right? We're still going to get a shitload of solar if we solar paneled the roof of this building, because as soon as the sun passes about 11 o'clock, we're in sun here.
Yeah, and the other issue is how much power is this building really pulling?
Correct.
Right?
Well, my question was to run the mini split.
Right.
Now, running the mini split, if it push came to shove and we had to do that, we would just that's why we ran dual head 18 in here, because we're going to put a wall in and we don't have to heat and control the whole thing. We can just control a portion of it.
Yeah, that was kind of my, the thing with the dog kennel is, like, I'm already thinking, I'm like, okay, I need to leave space. I'm going to buy the extra battery and put it in there, because I'm thinking, what if the battery doesn't have enough? Now that battery will run the heater on high for 6 hours.
Why don't you put the battery on a battery box on the tongue?
Because it pulls out across the tongue. I've thought about putting stuff on there. There's just no way to do it.
Roof rack.
Well, that's a roof rack is roof rack's not in the works, but I want to put a roof rack on it. Yeah, but I don't need to. I have this technically the way I built a platform. I built a metal platform that 30 cal ammo cans will fit in, and then the air conditioner and the battery sit on that, and they're strapped down onto that. But I did it so there's enough room on top of the main battery, so if I ever bought another battery, I could actually put it on top of that. And then the Iceco cooler that I bought fits in there too. So I have all that in the back of the truck.
What will that cooler hold?
I think it's a 36.
So
36 quarts.
So 6 bottles of Pepsi?
No. I can put 20 bottles of Pepsis in there.
So 40.
It's big.
40 pints of Ben and Jerry's.
I think it's a 48. I want to believe that I'm not sure. I'll have to look at it when I get home. I think it's a 48 can cooler.
Will it freeze also?
No, I didn't get. No.
Now you can keep all your growth hormone.
Well, the issue with the reason why I got the cooler that I got, EcoFlow does coolers, or they do that, but they didn't have the size. I needed a specific size to fit in the corner of the dog kennel, and the cool thing about the Iceco one is that it opens from either side. So
it is cool.
It basically, I have I don't know if you remember, but on the dog kennel on one side there's a small access hatch that was so they could turn the air conditioner on.
On the passenger side.
Yeah, on the passenger side. And so I can open that, and the cooler's right there. I can open the cooler and get out whatever I want. And then inside the kennel, also close to the passenger side, on the main wall that separates where the batteries and shit are, there's also a hatch there, and I can open that and open it so I can get stuff out of the cooler, whether I'm in the kennel or outside of the kennel.
Have you seen the diesel heaters?
I have seen them.
Man, you can get one for like $100.
I have seen them, but again,
I know
this thing fucking. I mean, maybe when we go to the Arctic Circle, I'll have to have a diesel heater. But right now, I think I'm good. Plus, I insulated the shit out of it.
Didn't they say?
Hey, when are we going to start raising money for that?
Didn't they say the mini splits stopped working at like 20 degrees, Brandel?
Yeah. Mine stayed working through the
Yeah, but don't.
zero.
But no, your dad built a
Yeah, you
thing
covered yours,
around
though,
it.
right? You put a blankie on it and
I
shit.
do have a cover and everything for mine. It's insulated.
We never saw these stop working this year, and we were down to 0,
Yeah.
and our shit was still working.
I want to think the one that I have on Mom's tiny cabin. I think hers stopped working.
It did.
Yeah, I think it did when it got super cold.
Just have to build a little doghouse around it.
Yeah, a little doghouse around it. Anyway, so that's kind of my thing. Is the EcoFlow was everything was plug and play, but the IceCo fit where it fit and maximized how much cold stuff you can have. The problem with the EcoFlow one, or not the EcoFlow one that does the ice, is it also has its own battery, which is kind of cool. I mean, if you're looking for something that you could just pick up and drag out down to the beach, it has its own internal battery, and it also will make ice cubes in 8 minutes, I think.
Don't you?
But you lose space.
Why don't you just buy one of those little
You lose
General Electric
you
things that
lose
makes
internal
ice cubes?
space. I don't need ice cubes, man. I'm on an adventure. I don't need ice cubes.
You had fucking ice cubes in Iraq,
I know,
motherfucker.
but that's because my mom sent me an ice machine.
That's what I'm saying. Just keep it in your Toyota.
I had more space back then. I don't have. Yeah, I guess I could because
Put it in the truck.
the Nissan has a 110 outlet in the
Toyota.
back. There's no Toyota. Toyota is last year, John. 1985 called. They want their trucks back. Jesus, come on.
You don't see Nissans running around war zones.
Of course not, because Nissan owners hold on to their vehicles.
Shit.
Toyotas get sold on the aftermarket. And end up in
Nissan
the
does
Sierra
make
Desert.
a cool like a Hilux thing. It's a
Do they
called
really?
the
I don't
Nissan
know.
Patrol.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's got a diesel. and shit in it.
Apparently, Toyota this year is releasing Hiluxes in the United States.
Yeah, but it'll have some bullshit. They'll have some bullshit where it's not it because if they release the Ashore versions, it would fuck up all the oil industry and the car industry in the United States. Those things apparently Toyota has a diesel motor and shit that is so fucking efficient, but they won't let them into the United States because it'll fucking kill the market on all this other shit. Same with those little mini trucks. Like there's all kinds of little vehicles overseas that you could buy for like $5,000. They'll never fucking let them in the United States.
Yeah, I have a mini truck.
All right, you ready?
What are we doing?
We got a lot of other shit. We got to go look at that fucking ice rink
Oh.
you want to buy.
Okay. Well, I mean, how do you have a hockey team without an ice rink?
get it.
I do not know why you bought a hockey team and then I have to buy an ice rink. It's ridiculous.
All right. Pulling the Thread podcast, guys. We will see you next week.
I built this